amongst us Professor Tapan Chakraborty, who is our alumna, and we are very happy that he is giving us time to share about his vast experience in geological field. We know that after COVID, that most of the people are like it's again getting bad, and people have again started to go back to the field work. But we are very much restricted to our home in many places. I hope that with what Tapan sir has some things to share with us. I think it will be a very captivating talk, and we all can enjoy and we all can learn a lot. So with this very short introduction, over to you, sir.
Okay, I have to try to project my PPT first, which doesn't happen always. When I first try. Anyway,
Yes.
I think I'll be able to get things all right because I've tasted once. So, just a minute. I might have.
Yes, no problem.
It's not showing window. That's the problem. Unfortunately, it is not showing the PPT as yet. That is the problem. Show. No. I'm sorry, I'm keeping you waiting because I'm trying hard so that my the window is visible. I think it's going now. Can you see?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You just maximize it.
So you just need to turn on the PPT mode, like the presentation mode.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will do that. First of all, I was trying to see that everything is all right. Has it enlarged?
No, sir, not yet.
Not yet. I did make it in PPT mode. I would do with the only problem with the PPT mode is that it really gets enlarged, but then I cannot see anything excepting the PPT. Can you see the PPT enlarged now? No.
No, sir, it's still in a normal mode.
We see only you. No PPT, nothing.
You cannot see the PPT. I can see the PPT projected already in the screen.
No,
Yeah.
your screen is there, very much there.
You can see the PPT or not?
But not in PPT mode, presentation mode.
Not in presentation mode, I understand.
But, but
what?
it is there very much.
Sir, when you are presenting, like to the present now option, like there will be three options. Like
Sir, your mic is muted. Could you please turn it on?
Upon the microphone.
I'm trying to save it as a PDF, and that might be easier for people.
স্যার আপনি একটা কাজ করতে পারেন, আপনি একবার প্রেজেন্টেশনটা অফ করুন, তারপর যখন আপনি আবার প্রেজেন্ট করবেন তখন ফুল স্ক্রিনটা প্রেজেন্ট করবেন, নট ওয়ান সিঙ্গেল স্ক্রিন।
Let me try that.
ফুল স্ক্রিন, তারপর আপনি পিপিটিতে স্লাইড শো করলে আই গেস দ্য প্রবলেম উইল বি সলভড, রাইট অঙ্কন?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, যখন আসবে তিনটে অপশন আসবে, আপনি ওই এন্টায়ার স্ক্রিন অপশনটা চুজ করবেন। স্যার যখন আপনি প্রেজেন্ট নাও ক্লিক করছেন,
হ্যাঁ।
তারপরে তিনটে অপশন আসে, ওখানে এন্টায়ার স্ক্রিন অপশনটা আপনি চুজ করবেন।
ও আচ্ছা, I didn't choose that.
কথা বলে শুনতে পাবো।
Yes sir, now it's perfect.
It's larger now.
Yes.
Many of my pictures, I must apologize. Is there somebody who cannot follow Bengali for that matter? Because there is hardly any message in this particular talk, and it is a kind of adda in which I want to share some of my experience of the field work. And the problem is when I go to the PPT mode, I cannot see anything, not even the boundary. So that is a problem, but if I'm allowed, I can try to talk in Bengali, mostly in Bengali. Can you now see the PPT?
Yes sir.
So let us go on. Whenever I talk about the field work, I remember of this book, Memoirs of an Unrepentant Field Geologist. It was written by, everybody knows his name, Francis Petitjean. And his book is on the right-hand side. The most famous book. He, of course, did write some other books. That is on the screen now. You must be familiar with most of his books. And his opinion was that for a particular problem in a natural science like earth science or geology, you get it from the rocks in the field, and finally for the solutions, you can come back to the laboratory, do many things, do many chemical analysis, do many thin section study, or maybe more sophisticated geochronological analysis. But finally, you have to go back to the field to see that the model that you build up based on whatever knowledge you have fits well with the field data. So that's probably one of the reasons that's why Petitjean was so vehemently in favor of field work. But also, long back in 1989, Professor Shampot Kumar Tanner wrote a small article in Journal of the Geological Society of India, which has a title, Geology is a Field Science, but Who Cares? He writes that he was comparing some knowledge of his, some interactions of his with the undergraduate students of a Canadian university, and he found that as compared to the Indian students, Indian undergraduate students, they were much more competent because every Friday afternoon, they used to go to the field, a nearby field, maybe a beach close to that university or a something else, some rocky exposures very close by. And the teacher used to give them a sheet defining what is the problem, what are the areas, what to be observed, what are the data to be collected. And they did so, and at the end of Friday, the field season was over just for one day, and on Monday or Tuesday, probably they deliberated on this, which is not a tradition in Indian university. geologies. Fortunately, I was probably more lucky uh, as compared to others, and could do the field work quite a lot in different places of India, and probably in some places outside India also. And I think it is most one of the most fascinating experience in my life. The problems of geology, I cannot think that I would solve something without going to the field. Very rarely you pick up the problem from the field and then you can do many things. Now, in this photograph, I hope you can see the image that three people are crossing the river. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah. The person in the rear with uh, with his hand and pulling him through the water. Actually, uh, I'm not pulling. I'm just trying to support him because it's running water. He is Professor Dhruva Mukhopadhyay, and he was 76 years old at that time. He's a structural geologist, and I requested him to go to the North Bengal, in the riverine tracts of the North Bengal, because we had certain questions about the fold and thrust in that area, and he gladly agreed. I was a little overcautious, but the way he managed the field work at the age of 76 is something to see. And in the front, with a broad hat and shoes in hand, is Professor Abdul Motin. He also accompanied us to the field, went to different sites, and his discussion with ourselves and our students were really enlightening. They are the pioneers, they are the probably torchbearers of the field-based geology in our country. And you can see, of course, that on the left, we are all very worried about something because we could not solve the problem in the field. And on the right, our driver, Ashok Shaha of Indian Statistical Institute, we can see only the bumper of the vehicle on the extreme right of the lower right photograph. He was preparing tea in the field itself, and we were thinking about the problem to refresh our mind and so that we can continue more of field work. My first field work was in my first 6-month long field work was in Tripura. It was a ONGC camp. You can see the tents. One tent has been pitched. On the back of it, there are bath tent and toilet tent and probably other tent for cooking and dining room and all that. And there is a campus. We stayed there for 6 months together, and it was a fascinating experience. We were in the southern Tripura. This place is particularly called Shanti Bazar, but we also moved further to the south and mapped a large area. And this is probably the first time I started seeing the folded strata of Neogene age and tried to decipher something. There is a interesting story that most of the geologists, there were 3 others who accompanied me. I was the junior most. I just joined a few months back. We're all hard rock people. They started. Just a minute. Excuse me for a minute. I'm sorry for the interruption. Bell was ringing. That's all. Anyway, they were all hard rock geologists, and they did their PhD or MSc thesis on either on granite or basaltic magma and all that. So they were little bit reluctant and comparatively less used to looking at sedimentary features. So when I went to field, I tried to note down, take photograph, or make field sketches. Cameras were not very available all the time, and they used to laugh and they used to say, "We don't want to know so many things. You just tell us whether this is marine or continental, whether we'll get here oil or not. That is the only purpose of doing the field work." I also laughed, but something else happened at the end of say we started sometime in October, November, and sometime in the end of February, there came a telegram from, that was the way at that time. There was no other way, there was no email, no telephone, etc., mobile telephone, etc. So a telegram came from Dehradun, the headquarters of ONGC, saying that the monthly reports are being sent from the fields in Tripura. 3 different field parties were working in 3 different structures, and they lack any sedimentological information, although they are working with the sedimentary strata. So it was a heyday for me, and I was so pleased that the headquarters said so. And I tried to do whatever I was doing before with double of my energy. And now this time the field chief and all other geologists used to listen to me, try to understand. Anyway, that was a pleasant experience indeed. Even though pleasant was the experience of returning back, you can probably see the Shanti Bazar in the South Tripura and Kolkata. And some people has to accompany 2 vehicles which will come all the way from Tripura to Assam, to Meghalaya, to Assam again, then to Alipurdwar, to Darjeeling district, and then Dinajpur, Malda, and Kolkata. It was a long journey. They used to stop at every possible place, because I came to know later on that more you stop, more you earn money in terms of TADA. So they were very interested in doing this. But it was very fortunate for me. Also, my wife was there, that I was able to see a lot of southern Assam, Shillong, Guwahati, and other places. It was long back. It was long back. It was in probably 84, 85 field season. So this is the jeep of the ONGC, and this is some river on the approach road of Meghalaya, quite a few kilometers before Shillong, and we just stopped to take a photograph. There was a little experience, so we went for the field work each day with surveyors accompanying us. They mapped the nalas, and we mapped there along this nala all the information that we get, the deep, the depositional environment, or whatever we get. One day we are coming back when we saw a small elephant, probably a young elephant, I should say, not really small, with the mahout there. And the elephant was kneeling down, just like almost a kneel down in a school of a student, was kneeling down, and the mahout was saying something in Assamese language. So we stopped surprised, and we asked Mahout, what is the problem? He said it is his punishment. It is the punishment of the elephant that he has to kneel down and sit here for some time. We asked, why this punishment? He said, I cleaned him up with all my, almost the whole day, I cleaned him up in this nala. And at the end, it is customary to leave them to have some more showers of their own. Instead of spreading water, he spread mud all over his skin. So that was the reason for the punishment. So we laughed a lot, and we requested the mahout not to punish this young elephant anymore. I subsequently joined ISI. The rule of the ISI was somewhat different. You can see some of the roads, very long roads. We used to travel from Kolkata to some places about 1200 kilometers down to the south in now Telangana. It was Andhra Pradesh at that time. You can probably see on the right hand photograph a jeep with T marked there at its back. It's a trailer as high as the jeep. It carried 3 tons of luggage, mostly the tents and utensils for cooking. And we pitched tent when we reached Telangana and started working there. We didn't stay there for 6 months, for 3 to 4 months continuously in a particular place. So we had the opportunity to see many things. This is something like the tent of Geological Studies unit. You can see somebody has written GSU camp. It is the Geological Studies unit of ISI. Whose camp there are usually 4 tents, one cook tent, and other for the various kinds of people, the technical assistant, the cook, and geologist. You can see the vehicle there. You can see the trailer which has been emptied mostly and kept there. All these tents will be packed, repacked once again, and will be put into the trailer, and it will be pulled back to the Kolkata. Living in a tent is mostly very fascinating. It's a different kind of life altogether. And since we had our cook, our own cook, so we had a dining table and lot of food was prepared by the cook. And you can see the stuntus meal was being served to one of our colleagues, and we were busy preparing in the morning for leaving for the field work. But we have been working in Satpura Gondwana Basin for a long time. And during the December, January, the environment was extremely cold. It's extremely extreme environment there. It's very hot in the summer and extremely cold in the winter. We used to wake up. I was in many cases accompanied by another of my senior colleagues, Tapan Chakraborty, and both of us used to wake up at 3 in the night because we couldn't sleep in spite of having haze spread below our bed. We had blankets, we had sleeping bags, and all the woolen garments that we had, we put on before we went to bed. But even then, at 3 o'clock, we had to wake up. And one of our helper who stays there kept a bowl of water, or rather a pitcher which is very wide and a thin sheet of water there, and he showed me at 5 o'clock that this water has frozen. So it was near freezing temperature, and these tents are not for that. These tents are for Andhra Pradesh, which is much hotter. This is Ashok once again, Ashok Shaha, our driver who used to drive us and used to work with me for a long time. And he used to take vehicles very close to the hillock. There was no road, nothing, but we had 4-wheel drive old vehicles, not very new always. And they were extremely capable in negotiating any of the roads and almost went to the base of the hillocks. This is very exquisite and elongated. We are seeing only just one side hillock, and lower part of it is places granitic, and it was a challenge going up, but then we used. You can see a tent also, which has been pitched almost in a woody and a lot of undergrowth there, but the tent was pitched. We lived there for about 3 weeks. There was only home close to us. There was only one home, and three people lived there, two women and a man. And there was a tubal, so we chose that area because we wanted to be a little off the main village always, so that nobody disturbs us. And when we packed up after 3 weeks, we are going back again to our old place, and we had sprayed some tarpaulin, thick tarpaulin at the base of the tent. Uh, and when we folded the tarpaulin, we found very large jungle insects. আমরা বিছে বলি, uh, three or four. They were all lying there. One was living, two has already died. And we didn't know, I didn't know, I slept every day on that tent with all my belongings, including the samples. At one time, I went to Dongargarh, a central Indian basin, and we were looking for a quartzite. It is known as Karutala quartzite, which is interlaid with volcanic rocks. And we are extremely surprised why this rock should be so pure quartz arenite with no volcanic fragments, nothing. How this could happen when it is interlaid with two volcanic eruptions, volcanic beds. They're quite thick, and why this has happened. So, but then we failed initially to do anything, and we went to the one of my colleague, Sharjit, took me there, and he took me to a fall and said, "Tapan, let us take some rest. It's a very good, wonderful place. We can take rest." So we went along the hill and climbed this rock and sat down to see. Then I looked around and I saw there are beautiful addition structures. You probably just ignore it, but they are addition structures. That was a marvelous discovery for us, and that gave us some clue as to why a late Archean Neoproterozoic deformed sandstone was extremely pure in quartz-arenite composition, while it was encased between two volcanic rocks. The reason is this: probably they were blown from a long distance, and probably they were deposited to the seashore. I don't want to go into the details of the addition structure, but you can see some of the field workers in one of the field while I was taking the photograph, and the way they were posing, because that was the end of the day, and we were on the verge of returning home. We had a different experience at some time in Satpura Valley. We worked there for quite some time. And we first went to a dam, which is known as Tawa Dam. It had a very large guest house. And we rode from Kolkata, and they allotted us 3 rooms. But the only problem in that guest house was that whenever you go to the tap, you see there is no water. And we are very surprised that, because many people, particularly many engineers from Larsen Toubro was working there. They were doing something with the dam, probably maintenance work. At least 5 or 6 of the engineers and a lot of helpers with them. And then we found that the Tawa Dam rest house has everything, but their water storage tank overhead is leaking. It leaks profusely. So they run the pump at 4 o'clock in the morning. And all these people had very large tanks within their rooms, and they fill up these tanks, and that's how they survive. They eat, they bathe, everything. So we were very upset because it is not possible for us to purchase such tanks and stay there. So somebody told us, why don't you go to Pradhan? So what is Pradhan? We didn't know. So we went to the area called Pradhan. It's a NGO called PRADAN. It is an acronym. NGOs were not very famous at that time, and they had beautiful cottages and an open space. So they were very eager and gave us space to pitch our tents there. But when we reached, it was almost evening. So a new room was being constructed, and we were asked to stay there for the night so that in the morning we can pitch our tents. And everybody was very happy that there is no problem of food. They had a full-fledged kitchen. They fed everybody at the NGO, and they also included us. Of course, we have to pay, but it was a very rational and small amount, not a huge amount. The food was very good. We went to bed in this new room and found that the new room has been nearly completed, excepting the windows. The windows was blank, and anyway, we thought we have a room with walls and maybe with a shade. Maybe windows are open, but it won't be very cool. But at 3 o'clock, I found one of my colleagues. He's still a faculty in ISI, Parthasarathi Ghosh, was loudly saying something bad about somebody. I said, "Why are you shouting at 3 o'clock?" He said, "I will show you tomorrow morning." He showed me that he was given a sleeping bag which had nothing inside it, not even any duck feather or anything. So if you just hold it, it will, you can see other side of the. So it was extremely cold. It was nearly 5 degree or 4 degree at night. So that was the experience, but all the experiences are not so good. 26th January was very close, so we are all summoned, and we have to go there. You can see our tents pitched, and in front of our tent, the Indian flag was hoisted, and we have to sing with our very poor ability to sing in almost very bad Eshugo Gola, some of the songs that they used to sing. But at the end of the flag hoisting ceremony, we are of course fed with the jalabis. That was excellent. But then we missed the field on that day. It was in Pradhan that we went inside the Satpura National Park. There was a guest house, a forest rest house in this national park. If you come from west, somewhere where this road connecting Betul with Itarsi is there, from the east of that road, the national park, the Satpura National Park, which includes a large part of the town Panchmari, is spread. And as per the British forest rule, at the interval of every 10 miles, they had some forest rest house. The forest rest house that you can see is known as Rampur Forest Rest House. We met some permission and we went inside, and this is the place where we saw some of the most fascinating exposure of the rocks that I think very few people, I don't know, excepting those British geologists who went inside and saw, and maybe some GSI geologists, very few people must have seen those. And we had to travel. There were roads, there were small culverts over the rivulets, and we had to travel all through the national park. And the gate, we had to sign again that we are now going out, and then we came again next morning. And one day, I don't know whether you can see, a bison was just peeping towards the car. What is happening? And as soon as we stopped with 3 big jumps, it fled away. One day, while we were returning in the evening, we were stalked by a large deer, a male deer, Barasinga, as we popularly called it. He stood still there, and 4 women deers of the pack gradually moved and crossed the road, and until all of them passed away, one with a little child. The male stood there, and I was really surprised. He was not afraid of the guard or nothing. He stood there, and then gradually, as everybody went out, uh, he also went inside the jungle. These are the some very rare experience of the field work. This I have shown you earlier, but some of the camps are not so bad. This is the drilling camp of GSI in East Bokaru. I happened to spend about 2 to 3 weeks here, working here. But since they have to spend probably years together for the drilling project in this area, so they have temporary hutmen, which was reasonably good and for us much better than the tents that we pitched. Now, one day when I was looking at my compass or something, I noticed something which surprised me. If you can see on the left, some of the very rounded things, and I carefully looked. Looked from different side, and I was started wondering whether it is Daniken's tree or something like that. Somebody came from other planets and made this very circular spheres that could be found. Uh, but yes, I didn't know that. I learned that these are simple calcium carbonate concretions which form in the rock by inorganic processes, nothing to do with extraterrestrial animals or living beings. Now, if you look at the photograph on the top right, you would probably say that these are mud cracks, but only when you look at this section, you will realize these are not mud cracks. This photograph I'm particularly showing because you cannot probably see the upthrusted blocks, and all the ridges are due to the thrusting of one block of sediment over the other. I had very good photographs, but while compiling this PPT, I couldn't find that. And but this photograph is taken by somebody who was just passed away few probably less than a month ago. Dr. Dilip Shah, he was with us, and he was also confused initially when he saw the section and asked me why they're thrusted upcurve. These are some kind of TP structures we call salt-free structures, very common in deserts, and these are Precambrian desert sediments that we realized later on, but that was an accidental seeing. Accidentally, we saw this section, and this plan view probably is not very easy to find such exposures, and that's probably one of the greatest contribution of field geology. You can see so many things which the chemical analysis or Landsat imageries cannot say. You can see the photographs. This is the red markstones of Gondwana rocks in Godavari Valley, and we were walking there, and that is an example. And you at times come across such wonderful melas in the field. This is in the Andhra Pradesh Maharashtra border, very disturbed as such. But one day while we were coming back from the field, we saw this, and we were surprised that there are so many things. People are doing so many things here. They have assembled, and there is something like Chorok. If you are familiar with Chorok, they were trying to do something like that Chorok. I found the tribal people who are very good and very much welcomed us with all shorts or pants and hats on us coming down with a vehicle. And I took a few photographs. Probably we hardly see such tribal villages, tribal festivals, but it was probably during the field work that we saw this. Then we gradually shifted to the foothills of Himalaya. This is the Tista River. When we went to the top of Mount Hillock and tipped to the north, we could see the Himalayas in the north and very white, sandy, braided river Tista lying in front of us. We spent quite a lot of time there, and by that time, we probably has become little rich, and we have our vehicles there. Can you see the video? It was the car that was carrying us. So it is. That's how we did the field work. And now, if you see, field work was not very easy in the rivers. At times, it was very dangerous. Sorry. And we had the opportunity to look at the rocks carefully, uh, standing on the streams in spite of water. It was probably very good lesson for our students, and we discussed what we saw right on the field, and that was really a wonderful experience for me, uh, doing field work with the students in these Krishna Valley region. And at the end of the day, when we returned back by the bank of Tista River, we were very happy that we have solved many problems that really initially seemed like unsolvable. At times, we went to the top of the hillocks and could see the mountains, small mountains maybe, and it was so wonderful to see them at the end of the day. We used to leave our vehicle sometime at dangerous places. If you look at the lower photograph, it's the foot impression of an elephant. We have seen elephant from very close quarter, but when our driver saw this, he was standing there all alone. We went to the north into the field. He took the vehicle and fled away immediately because he saw this impression of the elephant. So yes, of course, that's the area in Mahananda Reserve Forest and this Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuary. I left a vehicle once here. That is also within the Mahananda Sanctuary. This is a Gulma forest where the cranes goes, and we have a hired Omni jeep, which is extremely capable of negotiating any difficult road. I didn't know before. And the driver said he parked the car here, and he said, I shall accompany you. I cannot stay here all night." And that was a wise decision because when he came back, we heard that the herd of elephants has crossed this nala, and it was very fortunate that they didn't attack our vehicle, which it was very light as compared to the strength of the. You can see our pictures and probably realize that food was an important component of this fieldwork, and we enjoyed fieldwork as much as we enjoyed the food. That's all. I just wanted to say some of the pictures of the fieldwork and whatever we have learned, our students have learned from them. That's all for today's talk, and over to you.
Hello.
Like, Hello.
Yes, sir. So, thank you, sir, for this talk. So, like, if anyone wants to like have a discussion, like, we are most welcome. I think it would be good. Like, it would be great to have conversation with Tapan sir. So, if anyone wants to know something, or
I don't think there is a lot of message in this. It was just a depiction of my own experience of field work. It was just a Mojulishi Adda type of things. I remembered many things. There are so many stories over last 30 years. I cannot say all of them. I do not have pictures to support them or talk about them. But then just the glimpses of the places where you go for the field work and the experience that we gain at times. But anyway, if somebody wants to say something, is most welcome. Uh, Kaushik Dev Sharma asks how do the skills of good drawing and photography works in the field. And if you are a geologist, you must have a very good skill of field sketches. And if you have a camera are not very costly probably these days. It is available. You must have very good camera which can take close-up photographs. Photography in field is not very difficult. It's mostly the stable, steady objects. You can focus, you can change the focus, you can change the distance. But both these things are extremely important. You, when you come back, you have your field note, your field sketches, the data you have measured, and the photographs to support your memory and support your processing of the data. That is how I do things, and I think most of my students who have worked with me does the same thing. I অরুণ কিছু বলবি নাকি? তোর মিউট করা আছে নিশ্চয়ই তোর তোর ভলিউমটা। তোর কোনো কথা আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না। তোর স্পিকারটা মিউট করা।
Probably now you can listen my words, isn't it?
হ্যাঁ, এবার আমি
Now
শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
am I audible?
Yes, you are audible now.
Yeah. Thank you, Tapan. Tapan, thank you for a very nice talk. And in fact, geology, being a geologist, when we go to the field, we not only learn geology, along with the geology, we learn so many other things. And that is the beauty of this geological field work. Say I also spent a lot of times in geological field work through ONGC, and I visited mainly the northeastern part of India. So, and particularly that part of India is totally a little bit alienated from our main Indian continent. But the thing is this, there we learn about their culture. Their culture is totally different. And then we learn about what they do, how they react, when we are going to mix up with them. Of course, our mixing up is only from a little bit superficial, but still they accept us in a very nice way. I did field work in when there was a very political turbulence in northeastern states, in Nagaland and Assam and Nagaland and in other parts of Mizoram. But still, I did not find any animosity. They always took us with their arms, and they gave us all this opportunity. So we can learn So this is the beauty of being a geologist and spending some times in geological fieldwork. So Tapan, you also narrated some your good as well as some horrible experience, but this is a thing that we learned so many things from our geological fieldwork. So this is not only geology, we learned other things also. Fine.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. When we were working in Andhra Pradesh initially, we had to leave Andhra Pradesh once because of the political disturbances. And we faced that disturbance once. I didn't discuss that, but we were taken custody of the political extremists. But they, of course, there are highly educated persons with them, and they allowed us to go at night. So we came back home. Anyway, there are so many stories. So many. I think there are many field geologists here who go to the field, do a lot of work. So they must be having varied experience, rock as well as the society. Anyway, I think if there is no other comment from anybody, who should conclude this talk here. Hello. I don't know. The organizers should, I think, declare it closed now.
Yes, sir. So if anybody does not have any more questions or any discussions to do, with everyone's permission, then should we just conclude today's talk, sir?
Yes, I think you should conclude.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. That was very nice, like listening to all those experiences. We seldom have, the opportunities to hear about such things. And thank you so much for sharing all those with us. So with that, we can conclude today's talk over here. Thank you, everyone, for being over here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to deliver this lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming up and sharing all your stories. Thank you, everyone.